Hi everyone, it's Helen Hotai here, founder of Form Help, and we are on the smarttraveller.gov.au website, and we are doing a Smart Traveller advice updates for the countries of the Cook Islands, Germany, Hungary, New Caledonia, Saudi Arabia, and Taiwan. So let's get straight into reading our daily updates. Let's look at the Cook Islands. Okay, so this was updated on the 11th of March, and it's still current as at today being the 12th of March, and it reads, flights to and from Auckland have been reinstated for vaccinated travellers, and the Australian government does advise exercise a high degree of caution in Cook Islands due to the impacts of COVID-19. And again, the advice level is exercise a high degree of caution in the Cook Islands. And there are more notes down below, so scroll down if you need to read those. But that is the latest travel updates from the Australian government for the Cook Islands. Next we'll go to Germany. Okay, Germany, let's get straight into it. So as you can see here, it was updated on the 11th of March and still current as at today being the 12th of March. And it reads, COVID-19 restrictions are currently in place in Germany. Digital registration before you enter is required if you've spent time in a high-risk country or in an area with variants of concern. Now, you must provide a negative COVID-19 test, PCR or antigen proof of vaccination, or evidence of having recovered from COVID-19 on entry. So see the travel information below. And the Australian government does advise exercise a high degree of caution in Germany due to the impacts of COVID-19. And again, the advice level, exercise a high degree of caution. And if you scroll down below, there is more information there for you to read. And that is the latest travel advice updates for Germany from the Australian government. Let's go to Hungary next. Hungary. Okay, the latest update, it was updated on the 11th of March and still current as at today being the 12th of March. And the latest update reads, military action is underway in Ukraine. Russian troops have entered Ukrainian territory. Heavy fighting, including bombardments, explosions, and missile launches, is going around Kiev and other areas of the country. Civilians are being impacted. Land border crossing points with Ukraine have major delays. Expect highly congested routes, checkpoints, lengthy queues, and delays. And make sure you have a supply of food, water, medication, and fuel. You should not attempt to cross into Ukraine from Hungary. You should follow the instructions of the local authorities at all times. And if you have arrived in Hungary from Ukraine and are in need of assistance, contact the Consular Emergency Centre on 1300 555 135 in Australia, or +61 2 6261 3305 outside of Australia. Now, COVID-19 restrictions are no longer in place for entry into Hungary. COVID-19 restrictions are no longer in place for entry into Hungary. You also don't need to prove your COVID-19 immunity status to enter most venues in Hungary. Now, the Australian government does advise exercise a high degree of caution in Hungary due to the impacts of COVID-19, and also the advice levels again exercise a high degree of caution in Hungary. And if you scroll down below, there is more information for you to read, but that is the latest travel updates from the Australian government for Hungary. Next, we'll go to New Caledonia. New Caledonia. So this was updated on the 11th of March and still current as at today being the 12th of March. And it reads, if you've been fully vaccinated, you won't need to quarantine or take a COVID-19 test on arrival. However, you'll still need to show proof of a negative COVID-19 PCR or antigenic test before your departure. Now, the Australian government does advise exercise a high degree of caution in New Caledonia due to the impacts of COVID-19. And if you scroll down below, there is more information for you to read. And that is the latest travel update from the Australian government for New Caledonia. Next, we'll go to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, okay, and this was updated on the 11th of March, and it's still current as at today being the 12th of March. and it reads, Saudi Arabia has lifted some of its COVID-19 entry requirements. You no longer need to quarantine on arrival or present evidence of a negative COVID-19 test result. So check with your nearest Saudi Arabia embassy or consulate for the latest updates on travel requirements. And the Australian government does advise reconsider your need to travel to Saudi Arabia overall due to terrorism and political tension, and higher levels apply in some other areas. And again, the advice levels, reconsider your need to travel to Saudi Arabia, and do not travel to areas within 30 kilometers of the border with Yemen. And if you scroll down below, there is more information for you to read, and that is the latest travel update for Saudi Arabia from the Australian government. Next, we'll go to Taiwan. Taiwan. Okay, so this was updated on the 11th of March and it's still current as at today being the 12th of March. And it reads, you must quarantine for 10 days on arrival, excluding your day of arrival, followed by 7 days of self-health management. Business travellers may enter Taiwan with an approved entry permit or visa. Passengers arriving from particular countries, including Australia, must take a COVID-19 PCR test immediately after disembarking the aircraft and wait for their results. So see the travel information below. And if you test negative, you can proceed to immigration and customs. And if you test positive but have mild symptoms, or are asymptomatic, you'll be taken to a government-designated facility or an enhanced quarantine hotel. Now, if you have serious symptoms, you'll be taken directly to hospital for further testing and treatment. And the Australian government does advise exercise a high degree of caution in Taiwan due to the impacts of COVID-19. Now, if you scroll down below, the advice levels, again, exercise a high degree of caution in Taiwan. And if you scroll further down, there is more information for you to read. And that is the latest travel update from the Australian government for Taiwan. And that concludes our Smart Traveller daily update. Thanks for listening. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and take care, everyone.